Today, we are going to be talking about something very interesting on Amazon PPC, and that is Amazon advertising myths versus the facts. Now, if you have ever experienced or seen any of these myths, be not afraid. We are going to talk about all of the ways that you can make sure to follow only the facts when you're doing your Amazon advertising. By the end of the video, you're going to have a bunch of new tools in your pocket, hopefully, to be able to conquer any myths that you hear, and also make sure you're actually advertising on Amazon effectively. So let's dig right on into it. Myth number one is actually one that I love talking about to people, and that is that you are always going to see impressions dropping after the holidays and causing an ACoS spike. Now, this is a huge myth on Amazon advertising. And why is it a myth? Because yes, after the holidays, you are going to see impressions dropping, but that actually is not the cause of your ACoS spiking. Rather, the fact of the matter is your ACoS is spiking post-holiday because the people that are looking at your ads and clicking on your ads are just less likely to convert. If you think of a holiday, any selling season, whether it's Prime Day, whether it's Christmas, whether it's big sale events in the springtime, all of these kind of holidays are going to see huge impression shares pop up. And after them, you're going to see all of those impressions drop right back down, probably lower than average numbers. At the same time, you're going to see your ACoS probably spike post this. The reason for that is that the people that are now there were less likely to purchase during this time because of the fact that you see all of the sales prior, and now they're just kind of window shopping. They likely spent a lot of money in the week prior for all of the holiday sales event, so now they're just going to spend less money. It's a lot of window shoppers. So yes, you're going to see your impressions drop, but that is not what is causing your ACoS to jump up. It is simply a lack of conversion. So how do you solve this myth in place, and how do you make sure that you don't have a giant ACoS spike? Well, it's actually fairly simple. During this time of the year, whether it's, again, Prime Day, big sale event, or Christmas, you should look at having about a cutoff date. I always consider this cutoff date to usually be about 1 day prior to whatever the end of the sales event is. And that is when you're going to actually slash your overall bid and budget across the board. I don't mean to slash everything across the board during the actual holiday, but rather make sure that you are planned ahead of time to have all of this pulled back to a reasonable amount. You should know that you're not going to get a lot of conversions post-holiday, so you don't want to actually be advertising, especially towards some of the higher end, high search volume keywords that you would be doing. Now, a secondary layer for this as well would be to continue the momentum that you had. Look at doing some post-holiday advertising that includes some retargeted promotions. So you can be doing things such as a brand tailored promotion that is going to give a extra 10% off, even if you were just at 20% off. You can use these for retargeting purposes and can help a lot with that overall high ACoS, low impression share that you usually get post-holiday. Second myth that we're going to be covering is one of my absolute favorites, and that is that when people see their ACoS rising and rising, they decide to cut their budgets in hopes of lowering that overall ACoS. Now, this isn't necessarily something that I would say is wrong, but it is a bit of a myth in my book. The reality and the fact of the matter is, when you have a rising ACoS, cutting your budget does nothing for you other than make it so that you have less of a chance to go ahead and capture sales. This turns into essentially you having even higher ACoS at the end of the day. How's the actual fix going to work for this one? Well, it's actually a little bit easier than you might think. You should focus on having a budget a little bit higher still. Do not lower your overall campaign budget, but rather lower your bids and your placements. Seems relatively easy in thought of, yeah, of course we have to lower our bids and lower our budget, but it's something that you definitely should consider looking at overall. The idea of lowering your budget isn't going to help for the simple fact that you now have still very high bids and very high placements that are going to end up affecting your ACoS, and now you have less of a chance to get the impressions that you need and get the actual sales you need to lower that ACoS. So absolutely, if you are facing high ACoS challenges, do not lower your budget. Focus very, very specifically on your overall just bids and structure of your campaign. This next one is a very commonly perpetuated myth that I have seen in the Amazon space for years now. And that is the myth that if you are looking at running out of inventory, you should cut off your ad spend completely and turn off your ads. This is an utter myth. Now, the actual fact is, yes, cutting off your ads will help you stay in stock for a longer period of time. And of course, you never want to run out of inventory on Amazon, but it's not actually going to help you keep your ranking in the slightest if you turn off your ads. In fact, your ads will automatically turn off as soon as you run out of inventory. Amazon will not run any advertisements for products that don't have inventory. Now, the idea behind this usually perpetuated from the idea that you are trying to save yourself from that out of stock and in turn try and save your BSR. Now, a much more effective route to take here is simply raising your price during this time and pulling back on advertising, slowing the actual ad sales that you're having while simultaneously lining a little bit more profit in your pocket. Now, this is going to be a much better route than fully turning off the ads. I never am going to be perpetuating turning off well-running ads because that also hurts and affects the history of the advertising. Absolutely, if you are in a situation where you are going to be running out of stock sometime soon, I would very much consider, rather than just turning off the ads, dialing back your bid slightly and then as well increasing your overall price point. The worst case scenario is you slow your sales volume, but you have a little bit more profit in the meantime while you get more inventory in place. Now, the final myth that I'm going to talk about today is actually one that we have talked about time and time again, and that is the myth of you can over-negate keywords on your advertising. This is absolutely false. What I will say, however, is that you can at times hurt your advertising by negating the wrong keywords. What I mean by this, and the actual fact of the matter is, you should never feel bad about negating a bad keyword. What is a bad keyword? Well, a keyword that you can't get conversions on, that you typically will be spending money on for clicks, seems relevant but isn't actually converting in the slightest, and is one that overall is just costing you money. These are things that you need to consider when you're looking at negations of any kind. I'm always going to be a proponent of negating a bad keyword, and there is no such thing, in my opinion, as over-negating as long as they are bad keywords and search terms. This is something that I think has been perpetuated where people are a little too lackadaisical in how they go about their typical negations. They're afraid to negate a keyword, thinking that it's going to hurt a campaign, but realistically, you should never be afraid of doing these negations because the worst case scenario is that you have to undo them. Negations are used to really control a campaign, and any campaign I see that doesn't even have one negation on it, to me, is typically going to be a bad campaign. You should always know at least a small handful of keywords, especially for phrase and broad, that you absolutely do not want to touch on for anything at all, because it's just going to cost you money. So look at negating those keywords and do not be afraid to negate a bad keyword. Negations are your friend and a tool in advertising used to control as much as you possibly can in how you are targeting that advertisement towards consumers. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you can see when the next one comes out. Let us know down in the comments below if any of these myths were ones you either heard about or if there are any myths that you want us to cover in future episodes.